Hi everybody, I'm Mike.
And my name's Carl, and this is a Corepunk podcast. And yeah, so the second playtest has happened. It's what we're going to be discussing today. There's also been an update from Eugene and the team at Corepunk from the news channel. You've probably seen it if you're watching this. But yeah, so that's what we're going to chat about today. Mike, how did you find the second playtest? That's where we'll start.
I found it good. Another getting to play Corepunk again is just fun, in it. It's just great.
Yeah.
It's I felt slightly let down's not the right word, but I thought there'd have been more this playtest, and that was from, I think, just how I expected what their pathway would be talked about with the playtests and early access and all that good stuff. So I was I was slightly disappointed with that. But some of the changes they've made in the short time, the couple of weeks between the last one and this one, have certainly been good. It felt a bit buggier. We had some issues this time.
It definitely felt buggier, yeah.
But on the whole, it was nice to play it. I wasn't as enthused on the grand scheme of things. But as we'll talk about with the news article and stuff, in retrospect, knowing what they've said after the playtest, for me, made the playtest make more sense. But as playing it, and my impressions whilst playing it were a bit marred, but retrospectively adjusted with as information became available to us.
Yeah, I echo that. I think this playtest, I came away... Well, I only got a chance to play it on the first day, and I came away feeling less enthusiastic. Not less enthusiastic about the game, but just sort of less sort of wool over my eyes. Like you said, it's great to be able to play Corepunk. The excitement of the fact that you're playing Corepunk like there was in the first one. It sounds so sort of, I don't know, like bratty of me to say, because we're so privileged to be able to play the game, and I'm not wanting to understate that. I get that completely, but to feed back the information, it's sort of you have to sort of now step away from the fact that you've got that privilege of playing and start looking at it as what is this game actually delivering on, and it started to the bugs, like we said, it was a bit buggier, and sort of just like some of the choices before, like you said, the news article came out, just didn't make sense. So, as an example, we got to play the first quest. Like the first quest this time around, there was a bigger area. We had a slightly bigger area. Well, actually, quite a larger area.
Reasonable expansion, yeah.
Yeah, a good expansion to the area that we were playing, but it was very much the same playtest as the first. It was like you started off in the same area, you went through the same starting quest. So the last time we talked about it, the starting quest was bugged out. You couldn't go and find the person who was in the forest that you had to go and find because the area was too small. In this time, you could find him. But there were sort of two things to this. It was sort of like we went into the forest the first time, went southwest. We were in the wrong forest completely. And that was following the compass that was there. So I still think that the questing system needs to be better descriptive. And so Harap generously was just like, oh, I know where he is, let's go. And it was like a 10-20 minute journey. A good 15 minutes, journey, which is great, big expansion to the area. 15-minute journey into this forest, which was more to the west. And it was taking us into a level 10 to 12 area. And this was your first quest, and we're level 1, and it was just like, I don't know. It's just bizarre to be like, because I'm very much, I get it. You don't have to do the first quest straight away, and there's plenty of side quests. But for me personally, if I'm entering a game and it's the first time you're playing it and you're wanting to learn the mechanics, you follow a bit of the story first before you start doing side quests. Because that should be the introduction to your game. Your first, for Christ's sake, the first mission is to go and get signed up. You basically, the first mission is to sign registration papers because you've come into the world of Corepunk. So you want to complete that quest first. Like, so we're following that. And then within the first 5 minutes, we're in a level 10 to 12 area where all we're able to do is constantly run because we're trying to get to this body that is on the floor. We find the person, and then as the quest progresses, we then have to go and kill some level 9 to 12 imps, which you just can't do at the level that you're at. And I get it. A lot of people will be like, well, that's why you need to level up a bit first, but it's the first quest. There's not like, it just doesn't make sense. And even them saying like, look, this is it's more survival game. Like they say in the, I'll bring up the article so we can reference it as we're chatting. They say that the gameplay, they want it to be more sort of, strategic and a bit more survivalist. Like they said that they've put in a health and mana regeneration here. Health and mana regeneration, but it's only from 90% and above. Yeah, which doesn't really, it's not really any use to you if it's 90% or above. I'm not worried about getting regen after 90%. Yeah, just to get that extra. Yeah.
To be the marginally above 90% in any scenario, other than if you accidentally take fall damage or you fire off a cheap spell. And and because this was this is after the playtest, what I wanted to do at low level was use one skill. Pick a skill, use it one, and see if it took me under 90%. Because otherwise, what's the point? That was my I didn't get to test it, but say, because I know one of the bomber skills is like 12 or 15 mana, and if you only have 100 mana and you use that once, you will never proc the mana regen off using one skill by accident. The only time you'll get it is if your food doesn't quite give you enough.
Yeah,
and it's a bit of a weird way around it, but
yeah. So they say here that the gameplay and the difficulty is that they've tried to make it so it's not necessary to rush to the top and you can stay and enjoy the calm, relaxed pace of the game. Well, for me, that is sort of like completely contradictory to what they've set up as the first quest.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do the first quest, you're going to have to instantly grind.
You're going to have to get to level 9.
You're going to have to get to level 9. So, yeah, just stuff like that. Yeah, it really confused me. But in sort of like, the pro to this was that they did sort out some of the skill mana. Sorry, every time we start talking about this, my brain starts jumping everywhere because I'm just like, what am I trying to think? Sorry. It must be very annoying for people watching. But yeah, a good thing that they did do was they changed the mana for some of the skills. So I was looking back at the Professions gameplay, and I was playing as the Warmonger this time. And chucking the spear in the Professions gameplay video that they took out was 50 mana. In this, it was 12. So I was actually able to chuck that spear loads, and it felt great. And so using that was good fun. But yeah, just I wanted to be able to play the game, and I still don't feel like I'm able to play the game. Do you know? I'm struggling. It was a real struggle this time, and I came away sort of thinking, look, other than being like, oh, we've played Corepunk, I'm not able to tell you what not what Corepunk is, but what's the exciting thing that you come away at the moment telling your friends. We haven't had that moment, and I get it. We're still very early in the playtest, but I haven't had that like, oh, we've done this really cool thing, or this is a really cool aspect. Yeah. Other than just like the general stuff that we know about the game and how mechanics work and stuff. There's not been that sort of like, we've seen a cool quest play out. Yeah. Or anything. Yeah.
I get it. And again, I do echo. It's kind of gone a bit backwards. This whole like we've gone playtest article, and then there's a bit on Discord where Eugene actually clarifies a few bits. It feels like that almost needed to have been done in reverse order to help manage expectations and help me inform my playtest this time round.
Yeah.
I talked about it that had I have seen that article before where it says, "Here's our vision. This is what we're trying to get from Corepunk. Here's why the playtests are structured how they are." Had I have seen that before, I'd have played last weekend even more different from how I tried to play it from the first one.
Yeah. I think
Um,
like they said, you sort of enter the world and just instantly start gathering and crafting and gaining supplies before even attempting a quest. I
yeah,
think that's sort of what they're getting at now. Is sort of like, yeah, if you're going out on any of these quests, unless it's literally pick up the weeds, that there is a quest where you just go around and pick up some weeds, um, you want to be tooled up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there
So
was no description of that going into it. So it's just sort of like, I'm just trying to follow it from what should be your built-in introduction to the game. And
yeah,
all of a sudden, I'm just in an area. How many times you died twice. I died once just trying to get to this guy. There was two,
yeah.
it was so many wolves, which was so, really
Well,
nicely drawn.
that part of the quest was basically then us running for our lives. We weren't even surviving. This was the thing. Is like it, the game. I get the sandbox element, and a game like Valheim does it very well, where somehow it doesn't really ever tell you what to do, but you kind of work it out.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like this misses that mark, and also there needs to be a little bit of hand. Like you say, generally you don't want to overload a person, and yes, you want them to have the freedom, even in a theme park sandbox MMO where it's like the story's yours. You go out and live and survive and stuff, but you still need, like you say, you pick up one quest. There's no Because there's no quest markers, you could easily not actually pick up any side quests. This is what I was reflecting on. So if you picked up that first one from him where it does tell you speak to him, and then he's like, go get the documents, they're in my house. If you walk past the astronaut person and you don't speak to the robot in the purple weed field, and you don't speak to the guy by the with the pipe fixing, like you could easily not do that because there's no markers to go, here's a quest. Your only quest is that. And if you'd experienced what we experienced, where only because Harap knew where it was, and there was three of us, and we kind of just ran and survived and
Flagged
got
it.
to the point. Like, if you were a solo person and you were like, right, I'm heading southwest, yeah, okay, it's a bit of fun misadventure going into the wrong forest and like, oh, he's not here kind of thing. But if you got to that part, you would never get to the goblin brother at all.
No,
It
no,
wouldn't
you wouldn't.
happen.
No,
You'd just die,
no, you
you'd
wouldn't.
die, you'd die, you'd die. And anyone who, even the most, I wouldn't say the most hardcore, but people who are willing to grind out stuff, if they didn't know where to pick up the other quests and stuff, and at least a bit of handholding to go, here's how it works, okay, now go and have fun.
Yeah,
Because there's none of that, and I get it's a playtest, and like we say all this with knowing that this is a playtest, this isn't the full game. We're all aware of that. But as a playtest and a consumer of the product, if I didn't have my years of MMO experience and general gaming knowledge, I would have put the game down 10,
yeah,
15 minutes in and gone, I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah,
There'd also have not been much, like even bumping into Harap and him knowing, it wasn't him knowing and him coming in and saving the day and slaying all the beasts in the way so we can be like, yay, we did it. It was run as fast as you can. Do not stop. And it was 15 minutes of running in this direction. Got to him, spoke to him, and he went, right, cool. You need to get more of them off these imps. Okay, cool. Where are the imps? Right. Oh, there's an imp. Oh, it's level 12 and a level 10 and a level 9. Oh, I'm dead.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, because the solution to that is at that level, mass people getting 20 or 30 of you. Like, I was trying
I
to think
really
what
don't
the
know.
solution is.
I just It just goes
Yeah.
against, like, they're like, oh yeah, you don't need to rush, and that's the point that like really sort of frustrates me. And I get it, like let me think what I'm trying to say here, because you were talking about how we are fully aware that this is the playtest,
Yeah.
and we are, and that's great. But at this point now, it feels to me like this is the introduction to the game. It like it doesn't. The fact that we've had the exact same start in both playtests, it wasn't like a we put you in this random area and that's why all the quests bugged out a bit, because actually this isn't where you start in the game. But actually, we started in the exact same area and it starts the exact same path in the second playtest. So this leads me to believe, from what we're seeing, is this is going to be the introduction. You are going to start in that area. You're going to make your way up to this small village, and then this should be the first proper quest. So that's all we can judge it on. And the choice of sort of like, yeah, well, the world is really hard and you need to stock up. It doesn't make it fun. That's not a fun experience for anyone playing. It just really
Not at
isn't.
the start.
Not at the start.
You need that hand holding as much as anyone says otherwise. Like, it doesn't have to be for long, but you need something where you go, this is how the game works. And you need to be able to get. It's like with anything. Someone tells you how to do a thing. Like, and this is a weird, obscure example, but when we went surfing, I've never surfed before. I have no idea how surfing works. But someone showed us an example from getting in the sea to doing it. And there was a whole cycle. And yes, I tried it and I failed and we got better.
You did all right.
But the point being is that hand holding for that first cycle, so you understand where you start and where you should finish. You need that. Because after then, it was up to me. I was on my own. The instructor had gone. We just spent time and time trying again. The fact that you don't have that at the start, I really feel like it's going to hamper new players. I think even seasoned MMO players, unless you're looking up guides, you've got a friend who happened to have done it, like, it's not accessible at the point of entry. You're fine after the fight. If you do that quest line, get your documents. Oh, there's my brother. My brother's actually crashed over there. Cool. You go over there, you do the crash thing. Oh, well, I need some of these power cores. Okay, I get the power cores. Bam. Oh, you're a great citizen. Welcome to the world of Corepunk. Roll intro. Da 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 da. Right, you've done a whole loot crest cycle. You know what to expect from the game.
Yeah.
Now enjoy it. But the fact, like you say, you can't do that without mild peril of running to a place and then going, well, these mobs are too high. And to get to level 9, like, just for clarification purposes, of course, the game isn't in its final thing. But to get to even level 5, which was in the first playtest the highest you could get, I think I saw a level 6 this time. I'm not quite sure what the end cap was a lot of hours. Like,
we played for 5 hours, and I think I was level 3 by the end of the first playtest. I was level 3. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be able to complete that first quest within your first day of playing, unless you're going to play for 12, 18 hours.
I don't even think you could, even if you did. Unless you had a group of you, I really don't think that you could. And again, in hindsight, now we understand that they want horizontal progression. They don't want you to feel like you have to rush. But again, like you say, that contradictory nature of, well, if the first quest I need to be level 9, like, we're talking like starting a talent tree kind of, and having all your skills by that. You know, like level 1, you have one skill and you pick it.
Yeah.
2, 3, like you're actually really far into the game from what we've seen before you could even challenge those things that drop it. And we don't even know if that's the end of that quest. Like, who knows what?
Well, it didn't feel like it, because we found the person, and like you said, then it evolved onto the next one.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm being really negative. I'm not. I'm just frustrated because I see the potential, but I really feel like some of these choices will, like you said, it'll just lead to them not doing as well as they want, and then people not getting into the game when it, because that's the problem. When we came away from, so we abandoned that quest. We'll move off from that quest now. So we abandoned that. We went back and we were like, right, let's go and do the mutant rats, where you have to kill 2 mutant rats, get some fur. And just being able to use my spells more than once or twice felt great this time.
Yeah,
Like the actual playing, when you are playing it and you get into a fight and you're doing well, it feels great. It does. It's just that, I don't know, it just feels like you're battling against it at times. Like you know what I mean? You're wanting to enjoy it, but sometimes, it is. To a certain, it is.
It's a simple. It should be easy and get hard. Like most games do that. Like you need, like you say, definite positive with the reduced cost of things. Like being able to heal and throw heals for a few times and throwing my flashbang and still having a bit of mana and a bit of health before the end of the battle certainly paid dividends in the fact that I enjoyed, like you say, us going around and shooting rats in a field and stuff was objectively more fun. The drop rate, questionable. I think it's a bit too low for certain things. Like
we
fine,
didn't complete that quest. We didn't complete that quest while doing the mutant rats. All we needed was 2 furs.
Yeah.
2 furs, and we just didn't get them.
Yeah, I found out in the end because I played that day again, and the second day. You know the critter rats that aren't named, you know, that did a scurry across the field and you can kill them. They dropped the fur.
Right.
So, but that was pure coincidence for me because obviously the drop rate was low. I was just shooting stuff as a blast medic because why not? And then it's only because one of them died and it dropped the fur, and I was like,
did it drop the fur every time? Do you mean, or is it just like
not every time?
Same drop? Right,
but I was like, say 2 of 5 or whatever it was, and then I was like 3 of 5, and I was like, well, I've seen loads of these rats just scurrying up and down, so I just looked for them rather than have a massive engaged battle, and I did the quest really quick because I wasn't having to then go and find some aubergines to cook and replenish my health. So,
let's come back. We'll come back to this. Let's mention some of the good things because there were positives to the playtest. There definitely was. The first one was name plates on the map. So there were sort of like name tags. The forest was now named on the map. The map was hidden in areas this time, where in the first game it was sort of, you could see the entire map, couldn't you?
Yeah,
and it wasn't just the places you discovered.
Yeah. It did a better job of that, and it looked better. It looked. I don't know if they've made any subtle changes, but it felt more visually pleasing and user friendly.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, if it was as simple as those icons and stuff just being put on.
So that was it. So when you find places now, or merchants, or even just like houses and stuff like that,
outhouses,
it'll now
points
put on a that's it, points of interest. It'll now put on a little tag onto your map to show that you've discovered it, so you know where it is in future. And when you zoom in, it'll have like the gas station as a thing. It was like a gas station, little petrol can icon. But if you zoom out, it was just sort of like the little Google Maps sort of
like a pin
little
thing.
The little pin drop icon. So that was really nice. There was a lot of like little bugs which were fixed, like the volume sliders now worked as intended. There was an auto attack nearest to cursor, so it would auto attack the closest enemy instead of you targeting it. I don't think that worked in the first playtest. I definitely didn't notice
Didn't feel like it. Yeah,
no.
I feel like that was if it was in, it wasn't implemented and working as intended. Whereas it definitely felt like it this time.
There was more food drops, I felt, from sort of you always got like a food drop from smashing a bag of the carrots and stuff like that. I felt like I was instantly picking up food a bit quicker this time.
Yep. 100%. And on that point, as the bit I noticed was, before you could eat a health regen food or a mana regen food, This time you can have one of each going. So
Yeah, that's nice.
you could eat your bread and you could eat your watermelon slice, and it would do your health and mana in unison. I was going to say in
Yes.
parallel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Both. Yeah. Hey.
But yeah, that's a nice touch because there's not.
Quality of life.
It's nice quality of life that I didn't have to go num 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 bread for 10 seconds and then go num 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 the
Yeah.
pumpkin slice or whatever it was. So yeah, that was a nice touch.
Tell you what, like I've noticed as well, like you can get some ecstasy tablets in it or pills in the game,
Counterfeit
which
pills. Yeah.
yeah, so they will boost your mana regeneration for 120 seconds by 30, I think it was. So then when you ate some food that was a mana regeneration, it'd get an extra boost, and that was a really good way of boosting your mana and getting some mana back quickly. You could fill your bar really quickly with that, but the cost was a bit high. It's
The
yeah,
cost was high for the level we could play. I feel like the 15
when you're
gold or
further
whatever it
on,
was.
yeah,
Yeah, you would be able to buy a stack of that without even thinking about it. But
yeah,
again, this kind of gets back to that point of like, if you want the play test and what are we testing? That was what I kind of felt like I was coming away from. Yeah, it's good that this is the vision. We want it to be survival. I think the beginning's too hard. I think you should have like a bit of a safer environment and then get thrust into the world, just so you have that understanding. Like,
yeah.
because there's, like you say, it's very little. Like you can walk across. And yeah,
It's funny
food.
because it's not even. Go on,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I was just going to say the food and the mana regen is still not brilliant. Like they certainly added recipes and they talked about that in the article. Like they said, the point is we were adding more recipes. Very interesting. You know me, I like taking my notes. I worked out half the recipes that I came across. So I'll read you a quick example. Stick with me. So there's some numbers here. So the biggest issue I had was there was a recipe called the Big Bob, which is like a burger. Looked really cool, like visually.
Bob's Burgers, isn't
atmospheric.
it?
Yeah, great, amazing. So that gave you 3.1 health regen for 10 seconds. Nice.
Yeah.
What you need to make two of them was one bread, one poultry leg, one cheese, one onion, and one cabbage. Right?
Right.
So, bread by itself makes 3.1 health regen for 10 seconds. So, what's the fucking
What?
point?
What's the point? Yeah.
The bread alone, as a standalone thing, gives you the same regen. Now, of course, it's definitely not reflective of the final point, but why add the recipe in and say that we're trying to make it easier when I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, 2 which are health regen, 3 are health regen, and 2 things which are mana regen to only give me the same regen as
It's
the
my
bread.
bread.
So you couldn't even test it
Wow.
in that kind of scale. So that's when I got baffled, because when I read the article, it's like, yeah, we wanted to have more recipes, and there were some recipes like there's a grilled aubergine, so it's better than a normal aubergine, health regen wise. You just add salt and cook it. Brilliant, simple ingredients, because the salt's three gold, 3 coins, and aubergines, like you say, you could hit
Yeah,
bags
you
and
can
just
get
get
them.
aubergines for
Yeah.
fun. And it was better regen. However, so again, stick with me, numbers,
No,
Mike.
no.
Base regen of an eggplant, 0.8 mana regen for 15 seconds, which gives you 12 mana.
Yeah.
Did the numbers for you. Now, if you use the salt, so it's an extra 3 coins because you can't farm salt, you have to buy it. Gives you the cooked eggplant, which again is a recipe they've added. Brilliant. You can buy it from Big Mama. 1.7 regen, so that's up from 0.8. That's a pretty good thing. But it only does it for 5 seconds, which in total gives you 8.5 mana. But a base eggplant gives you 12. So what's the point?
Yeah, it's just
Like
like,
that's, and I know that it's for fine tuning, and I know there'll be people in the comments going, "Well, it's not finished yet." But why say you're adding them to make the experience better when me having to get the gold for salt gives me less in the
yeah,
long run? It didn't add up, and I was just like, it really irked me on that Sunday because I know you didn't play on the Sunday, and I was like, I'm gonna do some. That's what I do. I like taking notes. I like working it out. And then I
yeah.
was going 5 items when bread's just good enough. I'll stick with the bread. Like there was no incentive for me to then cook.
Well,
And
it's
when
just
there's no
like,
incentive to,
it,
it
well, it
just
takes you 2 minutes to figure that out. Why have they not seen that? You know what I mean? That's what it was just like. That's what it was so confusing about. Well, I keep banging on about that first question. It was just like, how are you doing this? Like, why? I don't know. I
well,
sound like such a
my,
brat. I sound like
I
such a spoilt brat, and
no,
I don't mean to. I very much appreciate this that we've been allowed to play this game, and I do love what Corepunk could become. But just that at this point, when I know that it's a play test, and I know that it's the first, like I was saying, how it's the first time we can't judge it too much on the last play test, but they wanted to go into they're not going into early access now in December.
they talk
We'll come
about
to
that
that.
in the Discord. Yeah,
But it was mentioned. So how are the how is it at this point where it's like it just feels like we're still at alpha stage where a load of these little things have just been completely overlooked? Like I don't know.
yeah,
I came away just feeling a bit underwhelmed and a bit just like, oh no, just sort of
yeah.
you've got a great thing here. Is it slipping away? Like, please don't. You know what I mean? Don't.
The the crux
It's
for
my fear.
me,
It's my fear of just like, did they wait too long? Have they waited too long? How much of this game now needs to be tweaked?
yeah.
Because we always said that yes, they're perfectionists, but you need to get it in people's hands so like things aren't baked into the system too much that you can't change them at a later date.
And they talk
And
about that in the article as well. They said like they had some unforeseen things happen that they would have never got other than a playtest, which I think is really important. And I think, like you say, the crux for me is at this stage, and yes, it's playtest number 2. Again, these are all implied and subjective thoughts. Is what was I play testing? Because
yeah,
playtest 1 was about my thoughts and feelings about being in the world and how that felt. It felt great. Playtest 2 comes along. We've added more recipes. And again, the hindsight of the article should have come out first. Because in the email, there was no like, here's what to expect or what we'd like you to test. It was just, you go and work it out. So, and that is sometimes the best way to find bugs because people will just do their own stupid thing and end up finding some weird, like people were falling through the floor and it rendered their character useless because they couldn't get it back, so they had to
yeah, and they
start
had
new
to start a
characters.
new one. Yeah,
But yeah, for me, I feel if going forward, and I know, like we'll get onto the Discord bit in a second, they have said early access is probably not happening in December. It's going to be at the end of autumn.
yeah,
So for future playtests, I think my feedback to Artificial Core and the guys is that if you're inviting people to playtest, give us an idea of what you want testing.
yeah.
Because
I guess, I
adding the
guess,
recipes and stuff is fine, but make them at least workable so then I can go, this doesn't work. And
yeah,
like I've fed that back. I was like, I shouldn't have to, getting those 5 items is actually because then that was the second part of the thing. Was I then tried to work out how to get poultry legs. Bread is part of the quest. Fine. Cheese you have to buy. Onions and cabbages are findable. But why am I finding 5 items for
yeah,
nothing? Like that was it. So I'm not testing it. There's no benefit to anything there. They're not going, that's really good to know that this is. Were people making loads of big burgers because it was best? Well, the answer is no,
yeah.
because it's just as good as one piece of bread. So
I guess the thing with this one would a lot of people would be like, well, they were testing the servers, which is fine, but that's great. And I get a lot of people who this was their first play test would have been happy. I imagine have been happy because they're still on that high of wow, I've got in. I can't believe I'm playing Corepunk like we were on the first play
Yeah,
test.
yeah,
They were figuring it out. We've come into it a second time, sort of knowing that oh right, we want to pick up a quest. Don't pick up too many quests because you're going to need to remember where they are. Blah blah blah. And it's just, and now you're sort of seeing, well, actually, you're sort of seeing the cracks a bit more, aren't you? That's what it felt like for me this time. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Can I jump over
I'm
to the
yeah, yeah, let's
Discord
do
part
it.
of it? Because I think
Let's
that'll
do it.
help inform people just a bit with. So Eugene did jump into the Discord. He said a few bits. Uh, most of it, nothing too crazy. But the two main bits I wanted to just really touch on, which helps again give context for people who weren't in the playtest, just kind of where they're at, and then it helps make sense as to why people maybe feel the way they do. So he talked about how they've had 100 plus points of feedback, which is really good, which is to be expected. So some things are too early to say. He said, although very valuable, it's not representative of the game so far. Interesting. You can't play for a day with just a portion of the game that is supposed to be a whole and have an objective view. We're rushing a bit. We would have spent 3 months per test to actually add everything that we wanted, but this way is more fun. The team is very energized, happy that they have a monthly delivery, but feedback allows us to prioritize much faster. So I thought this was a very good point to bring in, that that he almost admits in that sense that the playtests aren't the game. He
No,
said it's impossible to play the game for a day where it's only a part of the game and have an objective view of what Corepunk is. So what's interesting about that is that probably a lot of things we're feeling and experiencing through doing two playtests is that because it isn't Corepunk as a full game.
no,
So I, then it brings me back to the point I just made of that's why we need to know what we're testing. Because if it's not just playing the game, which is what I felt I was going to
I was
be
doing
doing, then it's going to be hard to structure feedback when I don't know what I'm looking
right. So
for.
that's
Because if
I
so,
didn't
yeah,
know that. So there's two things there, right? Okay, so we're not getting a real look at what the game is,
hmm
right? So that's fine. So I guess my point of the quest is sort of then a bit invalid because he's saying,
I think it still counts though because
yeah,
that quest does go where it goes.
but then the counter argument to that is sort of like, well, when are we going to see what the game is? Because right now we are only getting our opinions of what the game is off what you are saying isn't the game.
Yeah,
You know, no. So you know what I mean. If this isn't a realistic look of what Corepunk is and how it will work and how the quest will play out, then at what point are we going to get that in a play test? Because all you're going to do over time now is you'll either there'll be people who love it, there will be, but I think it speaks volumes that the Corepunk president Devalin in our private chat, and I'm sure we're two things. We're going on his podcast in the next couple of weeks to talk about it. But in our private chat, he was saying that he thinks the game is turning out to be something that he isn't going to enjoy.
yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
guy who has been, you know, he was the first guy we saw on YouTube as well as Blackout. He's been a massive voice in the community.
Champion it. Yeah,
And if this sort of section of the game that you aren't, that you're showcasing to everyone isn't the best of what Corepunk can be, and it's only sort of degrading what you've got. You know, my
yeah,
opinion's now being soured by what you're saying isn't a real representation of the game. Like, so we need to
yes,
know at what point, like you said, what are we testing? What do you want us to test? If we still aren't just testing how the game plays and how the game plays out for an initial experience, then let us know. If you're just wanting us to look, can you tell us how quick the basic attack speed is? Because does it need tweaking? yeah, we can go in.
Yeah.
Oh no, it doesn't work. Whatever, change it for next time. Happy days. But yeah, there needs to be some sort of end date of when we are going to start seeing the game in that case, because
Yeah. So they do.
just
So he does kind of go onto that in the second part of
let's
it.
go. I just need to be
So
quiet, daughter, today.
no, no, no. But this is the thing, and this boils back to my overall thing where I'm going to come round to the point where communication matters, and I think that that's how I will end the podcast. But we'll get there in a bit. So the next bit he talks about is that he does want the next test to be without NDA, multi-regional, and invite as much more people.
Quality.
Cool.
Great.
Brilliant. We want to test full or at least most part of the crafting, which they did say in the article. Good. So we will make the map bigger, unlocking a second settlement and some other areas. Archer is in
Ace.
the first stage of polishing right now. Not sure if it'll make it to the test, but it's there.
It's nearly there. Yeah.
Our focus is to unlock crafting and test the horizontal scaling. The next month we'll add something fun again. Doesn't say what. So
Yeah.
early access this December probably won't happen, but end of winter sounds doable. We'll see how the test goes. Our goal for early access is to test continuous deployment, but before it happens, we're testing core gameplay step by step. Really enjoying finally testing the game and delivering updates monthly.
Yeah.
So again, if you're not on Discord and you've only read the article or you've only listened to our podcast or any of the other content creators or anyone who's played it and you've asked them directly, this is quite a crucial part of like
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding. Like suddenly it goes from I don't know what I'm doing in the second playtest. The article comes out. Ah, right, it's meant to be more like a sandbox. Brilliant, cool. Right, well, it's not the full game, it's just part of the game. Right, okay, so what is it you want me to test? Ah, well, we'll tell you that. We're going to be doing this, and here's our hopes and plans. And knowing that they aren't going to hit early access in December, they want it to be a continuous test deployment in early access is so fucking crucial. Like to understand that early access isn't the game coming out, it is continuous test deployment
Yeah.
is
It's the beta.
huge.
It's the beta. Early access is basically the
Yeah.
beta.
So there's good stuff in there. Yeah, we wanted to see the Archer this time. Understand making the map bigger, great. Crafting, huge aspect. They talked about it before any of the playtests that if you didn't want to go out and do combat, crafting's a great way to play the game. Have we done any of that yet? Apart from make bread and campfires, no. Like, like these are really crucial bits. Which I was saying, communication needs to really be better, especially at these crucial parts, because I misinterpreted the second playtest because I didn't get the
Yeah.
article first. And then knowing that December's never going to happen. And when it does happen early access, it's going to be periodical updates. So the game will be that bit, and then they'll give you that, and then they'll add this bit in, and they want the horizontal progression rather than vertical. Like,
Yeah.
these are all so crucial. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing I'd say is it does back up the point of what we said in the last podcast, that I do think we are in a new era of Corepunk and artificial core. I think they're being a lot more open, which you've got to praise them for. I know that you've said
100%.
that the communication is vital, but at least there's been quick feedback. It was in the same weekend that they put out that news article.
Oh, yeah. I did,
You
it
know?
was before I even submitted my playtest
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
which was interesting.
So that's great to see that they're already come back. Him being in the Discord, finding out that they are going to these playtests are going to be monthly now, and to be honest, I believe him. I don't see him delaying another
There's no
playtest
reason
now.
not to. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just what they add to it, maybe subject to change.
Yeah,
Which he
tweaked.
says. He says the Archer's in the final stage of polishing. It might not make it. Brilliant. That's all we
Yeah.
need to know.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for the future. I'm really hyped for the next playtest, because
Yeah.
what they have implemented between the last one and this playtest was great. They've clearly listened to feedback. They definitely have listened to feedback. Like even I noticed one of the points that I put in, and I imagine other people did, but the Nats now have Nat in the title of their name. So when you are looking for them, they're very easy to to pick out because it says
Yeah.
Nat, and you're just like,
Well,
oh, there we go.
you picked up on it like within
Instantly.
them being on the screen in like 3 seconds. You went, there's the Nats. Like
Yeah.
that shows
So
how valuable these, and all that is a 4-letter word.
yeah, no,
Like,
and it just
it's just made the whole
you
game
make.
different.
But yeah, I'd love it if they gave us some patch notes now. When we're getting in these emails and it's saying like, look, you're going to get
Is
access
what's
at this date.
changed.
Here's what's changed. Here's what's changed, and here's what's to look out for, because they are telling us about the bugs. They do put in a bug list, so it's not like they're not aware of some of the patch notes that they're putting in and stuff. Someone's obviously keeping track of stuff. So just put in, this month we've added this, and this. Following the feedback, we've put this in. If you notice this doesn't work, let us know.
Do you know what? Exactly what I would do if I got that list. I would then go and do those lists and
Yeah,
or
go
avoid
check
the
it out.
bits because I feel like that's more valuable to them than me just meandering and going. I found a great little farming spot for vegetables. There was 4 little nodes that by the time you kind of killed them and killed them, the burlap sacks, Mike. Jeez. By the time you'd checked each one and done like a little lap and run through the field of watermelons, it was back, so I could do it. And like I felt I needed to do that so that I could go out. But in terms of a play test for them gathering information, not sure how productive that is. But like you say, a patch note and at least an expectation of here's what's implemented. Of course, the next one's a bit more obvious because if they're adding a crafting system,
Yeah,
and
that's what we're going to be
of course
trying.
that's just what people are
Yeah.
going to want to do. But yeah, those kind of things are crucial for.
But it just focuses the feedback, because then you're not like, like we said, in the first one, the basic attack speed could have been better. We looked at it this time. I feel like it was a lot quicker, but it wasn't numerically quicker because we checked the stats and it was still the same start, but it feels like that start had been bumped up just behind the scenes.
Whatever that zero, because that's the other thing. I know we talked about it. It was like 0.5 or whatever, or 0.8,
Yeah.
but we would assume that's seconds. But it might just be a numerical value. 1 is an action, which is a period of time. So it definitely felt faster. And like you said, when we were farming rats, the combat was great. Whilst we were doing that, we were like, bam, and I'm blasting and chucking heals and stuff, and it felt great. And all it would have taken for me to have, and again, like you say, I still feel bloody positive about this game. I think it's going to be fucking class.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's going to be
do.
so good. But I just wish they'd have said it's not the game. Like, I wish they'd have just gone, it's a part of the game that we'd like you to test. Here's some patch notes of what we changed from the last one. Just so then, I don't know, just a bit more direction. And it's not because then it makes it casual, and it's not because it makes it handholdy. It's so that
It just
I
stops
can
you
give
wasting your time.
Yeah, I just want to be able to give the feedback they're looking for. Because they, like you say, they do send a bug list. They're like, oh, if you do this, it might crash. And if you do go to this bit, you might encounter some graphical issues. That's fine. But if I'm not playing the game because the game isn't this, I just need a bit more like, like you say, this is a combat playtest. This is a crafting playtest. This is a Corepunk podcast. It's like it's directed. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, I think hopefully we're not blacklisted off me complaining so much at the start of this podcast, because I think in the next playtest, like I will treat it differently now, and because I think, like you're saying, a bit more direction in that sort of thing. It just respects our time a bit more, because we wasted 20 minutes running into an area we just wasn't equipped for, and just wasted a load of playtime just when we could have just been trying something else, or just just playing around in the world. But I
don't think it would be
excited. No,
I hope
no, I
not.
don't think so.
It's just,
I hope not.
these are our honest thoughts, and
Yeah.
he does actually say in another comment about. I need to find it very quickly because um,
You find it
it's
whilst I say I am sorry for like just ranting at the beginning and sort of not being too concise. I should have wrote more notes of what I wanted to say in this podcast, but it's just sort of like honest feelings of it was frustrating to be really excited to play the game and then find that I was just battling against it the entire time, and not in the terms of
not in a
this is
fun way.
difficult. Yeah, not in the terms of I'm getting into a hard fight, and just like this doesn't feel playable. Like
But
it
you
didn't
just weren't
feel
ever going to
playable at
win.
the time. Yeah,
You
exactly.
weren't ever going to win. So the comment he put is bad comments are another form of good comments,
Yeah,
usually because it means people care, which I think is a very good take because if someone is willing to badmouth the game or have a negative, like, because there's places for positive and negative, we'll get chastised for being too positive and fanboy, and we'll probably get shit on because we didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. But in summary, if that poster had come out before the playtest and they'd included what was on the Discord saying here is our vision, as well as the actual reality of what we're going to be giving you, my second playtest wouldn't have been running around getting angry at aubergines and salt being not as good as just
yeah,
aubergines.
yeah.
Like, because I didn't know what I was playtesting, and that was like, I think they said they'd add recipes. Great. So I looked at the recipes weren't implemented properly. Now, of course, they'll go away. They will make it so those things actually work, like the big burger will probably have better stat lines. But I can't playtest it if it doesn't have its intended outcome. And that was my thing. But I do think knowing going forward, they're going to add crafting for the next one. They hopefully aren't going to do NDA. If they do, that would be brilliant for us because then we can actually show you what we're on about rather than just talking and
Yeah,
going, "This is my frustration," or "This was really good." We can actually show you those bits. But knowing that early access, even when it does come, isn't going to be the full game, kind of makes me understand the playtest more.
yeah,
Like because I was coming into this one going, "Well, it's November now. December's next month.
yeah,
Where's the rest of the game? I've not even done talents. I've not done professions. I've not done this. I've not done a single dungeon. I've not fought a boss. Like all I've done is kill rats. Like
yeah,
so, my mind was then going, "Where's the game?" We even said it on the last podcast. Is it because they've got it wrapped up and it's ready to go and they just needed to playtest the bugs? Doesn't seem that way, but yeah,
yeah. I'm ready to see something like that now, so I can be like, we did this and it was fucking well fun. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There was four of us all trying to take down a boss, other than just doing your basic quests, because that's all we're seeing at the moment is just your
yeah.
basic generic quest. Um, yeah, I'm really excited for playtest 3, just to see what happens between now and then. See what they pick up on, see what feedback gets implemented, and the fact that it's crafting. That's what I wanted to talk about. Is we were talking about this, and I think Illumio was in our Discord chatting about it. So campfires, the cost of making and crafting a campfire was reduced for this. It was 2 wood and 1. What was it? A
Match. It
match.
was a
Yeah,
match, but you
it
didn't
was
need
a
the
match.
tissue paper.
He didn't need the tissue paper this time, but because the loot, the drop is randomized from the trees, because you can only chop magic trees. There's no basic tree. Yeah, you can only chop up magic trees, and then there's a random drop of what it'll give you, so you can get like a tree root wood, which you need for the fire, which is basic wood, or then you've got like magic wood or whatever, ancient wood,
Bark and stuff as well,
bark,
and
stuff like that.
sap.
We made that point of you're never in a position where you can say, today I'm just going to go and grab a load of wood, so then when I want to make campfires, I can make campfires. There's no guarantee that when you're chopping down a tree, you're going to be able to just get the wood because it's a random drop. And the other thing is, as your efficiency is being boosted, it'd lead you to believe that you're going to get the better loot from that. So you'd be getting magic wood or magic whatever it is.
Yeah, the higher tier
The higher
materials.
tier drop, so you wouldn't have just the basic wood that you need to make the basic campfire. Illumio's point was, well, there are other campfires that do different things, but what happens if you just want the basic one because it's just you just want
Yeah.
that basic health regen? You know, you don't want the mana regen or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very good point because the other campfires in question, one was very good. So one used the ancient bark or the whatever magic bark or whatever it was, tree root, and it helped health and mana regen by like 30%. So you get the 100% from a normal campfire whilst eating. This gave you the extra 30 whilst, so it was like a better campfire, which is fine. But like you say, the other material you get from a magic tree, which could make a campfire, was boost magic damage and magic protection.
Yeah.
Now, like you say, that was a higher tier material. So with your efficiency being better, you'll get more of them.
Yeah.
But I don't want that. I just want the health
Yeah,
regen.
what's if you're
Yeah.
just playing a destroyer and you're
So
doing melee attack? So
yeah,
that's no good
so
to you, really.
yeah, so the benefit of maybe if at least if you get a material, because again you can fail, it's hard to show without NDA, but the bar fills up a bit. They're in some of their videos. At some point, it may proc that you find the wood, or you find a four-leaf clover, or the mana resin, whatever it happens to be, and then completes. Maybe if something as essential as they talked about, you need to survive. Campfire is big survival. It stops you having to run back to town and stuff. Maybe if you do get a tree bark or a tree root or whatever, you also just get base wood as just part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Or
so
someone
'cause
said in the Discord, I think it was James, might have been in the Discord.
yeah, yeah,
He said that is there a way to what's it called? Deconstruct.
yeah,
What's it
yeah.
called when you do that in crafting games? I can't think what is it deconstruct?
Deconstruct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you can
Is there a
break
way to
stuff down to make
break the
it
stuff
into
down to make it basic items? Maybe there is. I guess this is something that hopefully we'll see when they open up crafting more. But
crafting.
in not in just the terms of the campfire, because like you said, there were different tiers of campfire you can get, but there's going to be a lot of other items that you craft in which you will just need basic stone or
Yeah,
you know
like
what I mean? So
the mana pipes come to mind. There is like you need the base resin or whatever it is, and then obviously the better ones have the better things.
unless there's just three
But you
tiers
need
of every item in the game, you know what I mean? So when you're either collecting the basic, you're either getting the intermediate, or you're getting the
well,
rare.
I think that's what it is. But if you're not at that point, because you need journeyman and you need those higher
Yeah.
tiers. Because I had to get journeyman cooking for one of those for that burger thing. It wasn't just the standard one. I'd actually leveled cooking up to a point where I could use it. If you're getting all the materials for stuff you can't use again, it's a bit, you know.
Yeah.
But I think again, craft. I think the next playtest will probably put a lot of that to rest, and hopefully they implement recipes. Because, like I say, it's not just cooking. It's not just campfires.
No.
It's going to be armor smithing. It's going to be weapon smithing. It's going to be all the other implementations, the alchemy side of it. Like these will all have the same issue of if I'm really efficient at getting the materials, I'm not going to get the base materials. And argument, yep, that's going to create an economy. So the people who aren't efficient are going to get loads of wood, and then they're going to try and sell it. But how do I make the money to buy? It all
Yeah.
becomes this like full cycle.
I guess then you just start selling off these higher tier items that you've got and stuff like that. But
and that's a bit counterproductive.
I
then,
just
isn't
like
it? So,
I'm just one of those people who like thinking, right, I'm just going to go chop a load of trees and get a load of wood and you know what I mean, stock up on stuff. And I was just thinking, well, it's going to be harder to do that the more efficient I get.
So,
but I get that I'm going to be getting higher tier stuff, but I like having a backlog of just the basic things because there's going to be other items that just need basic wood. You know what I mean? And
yeah, well, they said that whether you're level 1 or top level, those materials are useful at every point. So the way like Guild Wars does it is that when you chop a type of tree, you will guarantee to get that wood from that level of tree. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
softwood trees will always give you softwood, but every hit of where you get the softwood log based on your magic find, I think it is in Guild Wars. So there could be something equivalent luck, because there is a luck tree. There isn't there, the loot tree or whatever. Every hit that I will guarantee a log, but there's a 2% chance that I'll get the amber resin. There's a 2% chance I'll find a
yeah,
gem or whatever. So it might be worth looking down that aspect if, as they say, every craftable, gatherable thing is going to be useful at any level. Because, like you say, when I'm max level, I'm really efficient at tree chopping.
yeah.
How often am I going to get wood? And if I'm not going to get wood often, how do I do that? And I don't want the only answer to that be buy it,
No.
because, like you say, some evenings and they talk about horizontal progression. I want to be able to just go, I'm just going to get some, just build my
Yeah,
stock resource pile up, and if I can't just get the basic stuff, then that'll put me off doing it.
yeah. Well, let us know what you think of this podcast and our thoughts that we've given. Let us know if you're in agreement, disagreement. Tell me if I ranted too much.
Tell us if you played as well, because I know a
Yeah, tell
few
us if you
people
played, yeah,
find
and tell us
it.
if you agree with some of the
Um,
points. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
what's everyone's I think my question for, if you've made it this far, is if now you know that early access is going to be a continuous deployment thing rather than the full game that isn't quite finished and worked on, has that affected your influence of whether you will purchase early access? Because I'd be interested to know.
yeah, that is interesting. Just to round it out, a big thank you to everyone who subbed recently. We just broke 300. Thank you very much. Me and Mike texted very quickly to each other and we're just
Yeah,
like,
but
oh my God. So that's always exciting. Thank you to everyone who's joined the Discord. We're now at 100 members. It's great to see everyone in there chatting. It was great when the playtest was happening because there was a lot of chat going on the day in there. Yeah, just a big thank you all around. We're getting close to Christmas. So yeah, you know what I mean? I'm feeling merry. But
Merry.
yeah, we'll see you next time, I guess. There's no date yet for Playtest 3, is there?
There
Or was
is
it December 2nd?
2nd of December.
December 2nd, it was. I thought I had that in my head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you all there.
Yeah.
Until next
Coming
time.
around soon. Yeah. Till next time. Take care, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.